want to make you poor and pathetic. We have all their white papers. They hate you. They hate prosperity. They hate God. They hate children. And goddamn them to hell.
That man is Alex Jones, and that is actually him at his most presentable. That is Alex Jones at a job interview. That's Alex Jones meeting his girlfriend's parents for the first time. Now, in his more outspoken moments, Jones has argued that the government has the ability to control tornadoes, that the Boston Marathon bombing was a false flag attack, and that tap water is a gay bomb, and that they are putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. And then there is the Sandy Hook school shooting.
Yeah, so Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured. I couldn't believe it at first. I knew they had actors there, clearly, but I thought they killed some real kids. And it just shows how bold they are, that they clearly used actors.
Now, that is not just offensive, it's stupid. If the government had actually hired child actors, there is no way their stage parents would have stopped talking about it. Well, he didn't get the Tide commercial, but he did book a leading role in a government-sponsored false flag attack. It's the same director who did the moon landing. We're very excited. Trump is apparently such a fan that Alex Jones himself has said it is surreal to talk about issues here on air and then word for word hear Trump say it 2 days later. And I would be sceptical of that if Trump hadn't gone on Jones's show and said this.
I just want to finish by saying your reputation's amazing. I will not let you down. You will be very, very impressed, I hope. And I think we'll be speaking a lot.
You know what? I guess it makes sense that Donald Trump wants to impress Alex Jones. Why would you want to drain the swamp if not to eradicate all those gay frogs? You stay there. You two stay where you are. This is really dangerous, though, because there is a pattern here. Trump sees something that jibes with his worldview, doesn't check it, half remembers it, and then passes it on, at which point it takes on a life of its own and appears to validate itself. Let me try and show you that machine in action. Trump's constant claim that millions of people voted illegally originated, as far as anyone can tell, from some dude on Twitter who claimed in November, while providing no evidence, we have verified more than 3 million votes cast by non-citizens. The next day, InfoWars picked that up and it spread like jet fuel among the right-wing sites. Now, it was quickly debunked by multiple outlets, but despite that, days later, President-elect Trump started tweeting about millions of illegal votes and serious voter fraud in states like California. And by early December, people were on TV expressing similar concerns.
Voting is a privilege in this country, and you need to be legal, not like California, where 3 million illegals voted.
Where are you getting your information?
From the media.
And that right there actually answers our third question of why so many people believe Trump. Because if you get your news from similar sources to him, as many people do, he doesn't look like a crank. He looks like the first president ever to tell you the real truth. But rumours can be really tenacious, and I'll prove it. What rumour do you think of when you hear the name Richard Gere? Well, here's the thing. There is no proof that he did that. If you think about it, it's ridiculous. Have you ever held one of those things? There's no way it was possible. But if the president went on TV and told you it was true, you'd go, I knew it! Thank you! I knew it! Finally someone said it! But that loop gets much more dangerous when you're not talking about something as silly as gerbils. Trump validated his supporters' beliefs about voter fraud, and in turn, they validated his. Because even when he was directly confronted with the lack of evidence, this is how he responded.
You know what's important? Millions of people agree with me when I say that. If you would have looked on one of the other networks and all of the people that were calling in, they're saying, we agree with Mr. Trump, we agree. They're very smart people.
Right, but just because they believe you and you believe them doesn't make it true. This isn't like Peter Pan, where believing in fairies will keep Tinkerbell alive. This isn't a magic thing, Peter. She has Lou Gehrig's disease. And maybe instead of clapping, you should have done the ice bucket challenge, then she'd still be alive. I'm sorry, Peter, but she's dying. Tinkerbell's dying. And finally tonight, a quick word on the United States Postal Service. Drivers of windowless white vans you can actually trust. The The Postal Service has fallen on hard times recently. It's massively in debt and last year posted a loss of $5.6 billion, which is hardly surprising, really, because why send a letter when you can send an email? I mean, you could send a two-sentence letter in the mail to your friend in all lowercase that reads, "Hey, finally saw The Martian. It was okay." But that would be both inefficient and deeply weird. So the Postal Service is currently fighting to stay relevant and cool, which is hard for an organisation whose very uniforms make you look like a sexual predator on safari. Still, they are trying to get themselves out there, and one recent attempt is absolutely incredible, because did you know that since 2015, the Postal Service has had its own television show? It's on Saturday mornings and it's called The Inspectors. And while it airs on CBS, its budget is funded by the government. And the show is pretty much what you would expect if a bunch of civil servants from the Postal Service had their own show.
I'm Preston Wainwright, and this is my mom, Amanda. She's a United States Postal Inspector, which means she solves any crime that uses the mail. My dad was an inspector too, one of the best, until I lost him and the use of my legs in a car accident. Now I'm following my own dream with an internship in the crime lab and the help of my best friends. Together, we are the Inspectors.
The whole thing is basically a mix of teenage soap opera, police procedural, and a PSA about how to protect yourself from various mail-related crimes, all of which amounts to a kind of CSI mailbox. Its stars include this guy, who looks exactly like Anthony Michael Hall. And you may think that I'm just cherry-picking similar photos there, but I'm not. Their photos are all similar. Tell me which of these actors was in The Breakfast Club and which wasn't. You can't do it, that's my point. The problem is that there is something about the innately aggressive tone of a cop show and postal inspectors that doesn't seem to quite fit.
I want to see my lawyer. I know my rights, and I will not be intimidated by you people. Who are you? Anyway, the FBI?
I told you, we're postal inspectors.
We're your worst nightmare. We've got a 98% conviction rate. You're about to raise it to 99.
Okay. First of all, if a postal inspector is your worst nightmare, you need to have worse nightmares. There's a reason that Freddy Krueger kills people. He doesn't fine them for manufacturing counterfeit stamps. Also, about that conviction rate line, that's not how numbers work. Say they've convicted 980 out of 1,000 people, giving them a 98% conviction rate. By convicting one more person, their rate isn't now 99, it's 98.1. You know what? I don't often say this on this show, but I'm going to give this our official stamp of never mind. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Let it go. Never mind. Welcome to Last Week Tonight. I'm John Oliver. Thank you so much for joining us. And we begin tonight with President Trump, the person who most deserves to look like that. And I know right now, all anyone can think about is the reported indictments coming from Robert Mueller. Please let it be Jared. Please let it be Jared. Please let it be Jared. But a lot has happened this week before that, including Trump addressing America's opioid crisis, which claims 140 lives every day. Or, as one newscaster put it...
Good evening, I'm Anthony Mason, and by the time this broadcast is over, 3 people will be dead.
Holy shit! The only thing creepier than that is if he specifically names who those people are. 3 people will be dead. Jason Kohler of Waltham, Massachusetts, Diane Forant of Spokane, Washington, and you. Now, combating America's opioid crisis was one of Trump's central campaign promises, but I have to say, a lot of his solutions were underwhelming, including one of the key announcements on Thursday.
It's really, really easy not to take them. And I think that's going to end up being our most important thing. Really tough, really big, really great advertising. So we get to people before they start.
So an ad campaign. I mean, sure, it is important not to start abusing opioids, but that doesn't really help the people who are already struggling with addiction. It's kind of like seeing someone neck deep in quicksand and then putting up a "Don't do quicksand" sign. Also, the whole ad blitz strategy has famously been tried and failed before with Nancy Reagan's Just Say No campaign, and yet it still seems to be Trump's preferred approach, going by what happened at one of his rallies last year.
Don't take drugs, okay? Raise your hand.
Raise your hand. I promise Donald J. Trump that I will never take drugs. I don't want to say no alcohol, but take it easy on the alcohol.
What are you doing? Why are you walking back the pledge as you go? You would be a terrible wedding officiant. Do you take this woman, I don't want to say forsaking all others, there are going to be others, but take it easy on the others and don't let them call you at home. Now, still, you've got to say, it is good that the president is calling attention to the opioid crisis. The problem is, attention is pretty much all he's giving it, because he didn't put out a detailed strategy, and his splashiest step, declaring it a public health emergency, doesn't actually do very much.
It will streamline some access to addiction treatment, but provides few new resources. Financing comes from the Public Health Emergency Fund, which has a balance of just over $56,000. The federal government estimates the crisis costs $75 billion annually.
It's true. Trump has finally chimed in with his 2 cents about how to tackle this crisis, and it involves allotting for the 2.6 million Americans addicted to opioids literally about 2 cents each. So Trump's fix for our opioids epidemic essentially boils down to, here's 2 pennies, go throw them in a fucking mall fountain and wish your addiction away. Meanwhile, commentators who are usually in Trump's corner had a genuinely tough time defending his remarks, and none tougher, perhaps, than Fox News' Melissa Francis.
He didn't say there were very good people among neo-Nazi protesters.
He said there were very good people on the other side.
There are people that were opposed.
It was clear
to
what he was talking about.
Look, can I tell you this? I am so uncomfortable having this conversation. And that's what this woman said before this, because I know what's in my heart. And I know that I don't think anyone is different, better, or worse based on the color of their skin. But I feel like there is nothing any of us can say right now without being judged.
Well, look, here's a tip. If you're getting emotionally overwhelmed and feeling judged for defending Trump in his Nazi sympathizer phase, stop fucking doing it! It's that simple! No one is making you do it! Also, and I cannot stress this enough, how did you manage to make this about you? That's almost impressive. Now, it was also fascinating to watch Trump's own party try desperately not to deal with what he had said. Take Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, whose office initially responded with a statement that he had no new response to Trump's news conference, although by Wednesday, a new rumour had started making the rounds.
Sources close to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell describe him as very concerned and very upset. McConnell's office denies that.
Yes, that's right. Mitch McConnell had the moral courage to deny anonymous sources who had said he had some moral courage. I will not stand idly by while people drag my name out of the mud. Leave my name in the mud where it belongs. Now, others tried to delicately thread the needle, condemning the Nazis without explicitly mentioning the president. Take Paul Ryan, a man whose spine ran away from home 10 years ago and is now living on a spine commune in northern Vermont. He tweeted that white supremacy is repulsive, but did not mention Trump. And come on, you can mention him. He is not Voldemort. He's just a terrifying entity who viciously attacks his enemies and judges people based on their birthright. Do you know what? I do hear it now. I hear it now. I take that back. And look, that is not to say that no Republicans condemned him by name, because some did.
Let's take a look at just how many Republican lawmakers have called the president out by name over his response to Charlottesville. Now, this is really only a handful of the roughly 300 Republicans in Congress.
Exactly, and that's actually generous, because that graphic includes John Kasich, who isn't even a member of Congress, and Jeb Bush, who holds no government position whatsoever. He's currently, and this is true, running his own frozen yogurt shop in Orlando. Apparently, their tropical mango flavour is fine. It's fine. It's not going to change your life. It's fine. But the fact is, after the President of the United States implied that good people were marching with Nazis, the overwhelming majority of Republicans opted not to condemn him. By our count, out of 292 Republican members of Congress, only around 54 could be bothered to unequivocally condemn Trump by name, and that is less than 20%. And the problem with not mentioning him is that suggests that he is somehow not a key part of the problem here. So, in the words of the poets Beyoncé and the other ones, say his name, go right on to Fox News, say, Donald, I condemn you if you ain't running game. So look, although this week has been repeatedly called a turning point. Much as though I would love to believe that, I really don't see it. Because every day has felt like a turning point. We're not so much turning anymore as spinning. We are basically on a carousel that will not stop. We've vomited so much there's nothing left to throw up, and there's just no way to get off because an unstable race-baiting carny is operating the controls. And we are probably going to go through a lot more before Republicans ever decide to do anything, because the hard truth here is that nothing is really going to change in the White House until one more person in that photo finally gets shown the fucking door. And now... Hello there, I'm John Oliver. Look, it's the middle of October, which across the nation means that we are all looking at this and thinking, I don't know why, but I simply have to drink that. Yes, it's that special time of year where we voluntarily imbibe pumpkin spice lattes, the coffee that tastes like a candle. And I don't mean it tastes like a candle smells. Pumpkin spice lattes taste like a candle tastes. Don't ask me how I know that. But what is strange is that pumpkin spice foods inexplicably seem to grow more omnipresent every year, even though there's no actual pumpkin in the drinks. Kind of like how everyone you meet calls himself a DJ all of a sudden, when what they really mean is that they own an iPad and have been to a party. But apparently, each American eats more than 5 pounds of pumpkin per year, which is more than the amount of pumpkin in 5 pumpkin pies. And pumpkin pie is the most seasonal food there is. It is only good from the moment Thanksgiving dinner ends until just after you have taken your first bite of it. 5 pounds of pumpkin a year is even crazier than the fact that we allegedly swallow 8 spiders in a lifetime. Why is it crazier? Because there is no way a pumpkin has ever crawled into my mouth while I was sleeping. And the worst part is, nobody wants anything pumpkin-flavoured from December through August. And here's how I know that. You can have it whenever you want. That bottle of pumpkin-flavoured science goo sits behind the counter of Starbucks all year round. Never aging, like Ryan Seacrest. Or the early work of Dr. Dre, which really holds up. It really holds up. Have you listened to The Chronic lately? Go back and do it. It's really great. It's great. Except for the sexism and homophobia, which is most of it. But that's not the point. It's really good. The point is, we tolerate pumpkin spice because we like the fall. It's the best season because you get to stop thinking about how weird your legs look in shorts. That's everyone, right? We all agree on that. But just about anything that reminds us of autumn is a better flavour than pumpkin spice. I personally, for instance, would rather drink a cable knit sweater spice latte, or a Major League Baseball spice latte, or a keen awareness of my own mortality spice latte, because that's what foliage is. Although, look, it might be an acquired taste. That might be an acquired taste. Pumpkin spice is just eggnog for morning people, OK? And I will be subject to its tyranny no longer. It stops here. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Last Week Tonight. Until then, please ignore the news and continue to drink regular coffee. Good night. Hello there, I'm John Oliver, host of Last Week Tonight. It is January the 3rd, and we are still on hiatus. But I wanted to take this opportunity to wish you all a happy new year. Which is something you can still do for another day or two before people start to think you just came out of a week-long blackout. Also, I would like to talk to you about New Year's resolutions. The exact middle ground between lying to yourself and lying to other people. Every December, for some reason, we decide that next year will be the one when everything turns around and we'll quit drinking or finally learn how to pronounce the name of these berries. Is it Akai? AK? Asine? There's no way to know for sure. The science simply isn't in yet. But let's be honest, we're a few days into the new year now, and if you haven't broken your resolutions yet, statistically, you are about to. And that can be depressing, but don't panic. All hope is not lost, because the key thing with resolutions is not how to keep them, it's how to revise them once you've failed. Let me explain. The main problem with New Year's resolutions is that we set our expectations way too high. For instance, lots of people say they want to exercise more, but that's hard. Exercise is like reading for your muscles, except you can't watch a movie of someone else exercising and basically get the gist of it. So instead of beating yourself up because you haven't gone to the gym yet, simply lower your standards for what counts as exercise to anything that brings your heart rate up. That way, instead of jogging, simply try waking up late for work. Or taking a pregnancy test. That way, you haven't failed to keep your New Year's resolution, you've just succeeded in a different way. Or let's say you bought a crock pot and promised yourself you'd use it to make yourself nutritious meals. Clearly, that was never going to happen. So simply revise your promise to saying that you would use it, period. That way, if you find mice in your apartment, you will fulfill your resolution simply by filling the crock pot with water, setting it to low, and making those mice a kick-ass hot tub. Yes, those mice are going to get so much tail. So much tail, I stand by that joke! I stand by the tail joke. I do not apologise. And finally, if scaling down your resolutions doesn't work, how about scaling them up to a completely unachievable level? For example, resolve to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium on July the 4th. Or win an EGOC, which means winning an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar and the Kentucky Derby. That's hard. You're not going to do any of those things, which is why you won't feel bad when they don't happen, because deep down we all know the key to a successful resolution is not hard work and dedication, it's managing disappointment, and that's it. And speaking of managing disappointment, we will be back on HBO on February the 14th. Until then, please enjoy your failures. Goodbye! Hello there, I'm John Oliver, host of Last Week Tonight. We are off until February, but with the holiday season now underway, we thought we'd share some important advice regarding exchanging gifts with friends and family, because during the holidays, you are going to receive at least one profoundly underwhelming gift. That's just a fact. At some point this month, you will unwrap a present that induces the sort of jaw-dropping disappointment that one normally associates with the term lettuce wrap. For instance, you might receive a scented candle, which is just a candle that's extra desperate for attention. Or maybe you'll get an edible arrangement, which says, I don't know you very well, but if you're anything like me, you have to eat or else you'll die. Or maybe you'll get a stuffed animal, which is essentially just a creepy ornament you have to reposition before you can comfortably have sex. And that is why I am here with a handy holiday guide to the art of regifting. Just the easiest way to pawn off something that you can't stand, aside from sending your child to summer camp. First of all, never regift to someone who knows the original gifter. It's incredibly uncomfortable to get busted ditching something that was clearly meant for you, whether it's an ugly sweater or, worst case scenario, an engagement ring. Worst case scenario. You are going to want to create some distance. So the ideal place for a regift is clearly an office secret Santa, because regifting there is like peeing in the ocean. Sure, it's not right, but it's an ultimately harmless solution to an urgent problem. Secondly, you're going to want to personalise it. Write a note to throw the recipient off the scent that this gift was not originally meant for them. Something intimate yet vague, like, saw this and couldn't resist, or this is so you. Although I will say, do be warned, that could backfire if the original gift could be potentially insulting, like a self-help book, or maybe a box of wine. Really? Really? You saw this box of wine and you thought of me? I'm 3 months sober and you're an arsehole, Nana! You're an arsehole! Next, you're going to want to disguise the gift to maximise your plausible deniability. A horrible gift, much like your pet, always looks better when dressed up. And if you're going to regift, have the decency to re-wrap. It looks more festive, and it spares you from walking into a party and announcing, hey, I brought you an appliance I didn't want. Where's the eggnog? If you're not going to re-wrap, at the very least, though, use a gift bag. And I'll tell you why. Gift bags are the sweatpants of gift wrapping. Sure, it's lazy, but it's undeniably better than not putting on anything at all. Finally, and this one is very important, keep yourself to a single regift per person. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to redistribute all of your gifts amongst your friends and family like a festive Ponzi scheme. You're flying too close to the sun, And when your wings melt, they'll probably smell like a cranberry bog because you made them from the scented candles you got from your sister-in-law. I do hope this has been useful. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back in February. Happy holidays, and may all your problems become someone else's. Goodbye. Hello there.